I am a truck driver handling pretty heavy hauls. One of my best friends, Mijail, passed away last year. I was doing my delivery one day. Everything was going okay. Suddenly, I saw a person on the side of the road. As I passed them, I could have sworn I saw someone who looked like Mijail. I stopped the truck on the side and got out to take a better look. Nobody was there anymore. I went back to my truck, confused, and continued my haul. After 10 minutes of driving, I saw police cars, firemen, and an ambulance. There had been a terrible crash, several cars and a truck involved. 5 people dead, including the truck driver. I thought to myself, that could have been me. I like to think that the person I saw really was Mijail, trying to warn me of the danger ahead. These are some scary encounters people have had while on the road.
Story number 2.
I was driving a pickup truck with my dad back in Peru. We were crossing a deserted area around 7 p.m., not bright but not too dark yet, and the next closest town was 15 kilometers away. Suddenly, we see 3 guys in striped red-blue soccer jerseys and a ball in hand, seemingly happy walking alongside the road. So we quickly discussed it and figured why not give them a ride. We stopped the car a few feet in front and they were gone. There were no trees, big rocks, or cliffs to hide around, just kilometers of a flat, arid land. And they'd vanished. We got into town and spent the night there. To our surprise, we found out that a group of players of the local soccer team had died in a car accident a few years back, around the same area where we spotted them. Didn't feel fear, it was a mix of sadness and wowness. We'll never forget that.
Story number 3.
Near my apartment, there is a very windy road with a river on one side and a very steep hill covered in brush and trees on the other. Once, while driving on this road late at night, I got a sinking feeling in my stomach for what I assumed was absolutely no reason. Until I took a turn. Standing in the middle of the road in the light of the only street light for yards was what looked like a very tall, emaciated and deformed black dog. It had spindly legs that looked to have each been twisted. His coat was patchy all along his body, and he was at least 3 feet tall. I froze and immediately stopped the car. My lights were on him, but he just wasn't moving. I flashed on my brights, honked a little, and tried to move closer until his head suddenly flipped around to glare at me, and then bolted up the side of this extremely steep hill. I did some light research on the lore of black dogs and found that finding a stranded black dog in the middle of the road following you somewhere is a sign of death. It must be true because my grandmother died shortly after this occurrence.
Story number 4.
My daughter and her friend were driving home after eating out. Not especially late, maybe 10ish, but dark as it was in UK September. They were listening to music and talking like 20-something girls do. I just want to clarify that no alcohol was involved for either. They went down a long, very rural road in Cambridgeshire with no houses for a few miles. So my daughter is calm and relaxed, but then out of nowhere, she saw a little girl on the side of the road who seemed to have her hand raised. She said she looked about 6. She told her friend quite hysterically to stop the car so they could go and have a look, as obviously she seemed so young and alone in a very unusual place at night. She apologized to her friend for getting her to stop and being a little zealous over it, but her friend was in tears and said she was going to stop as she had seen her too. They were utterly freaked out and are usually very level-headed girls. They described the little girl as dark-haired and in a lightly colored dress that wasn't suitable for a September night, with her hand raised similarly to how you would put your hand up as a child in primary class to answer a question. They feel she was not dressed like a child of the time, if that makes sense.
Story number 5.
The farm I lived on was in an area surrounded by gravel roads. I would drive down one lilac avenue to town and back without seeing anyone else, except for the occasional truck or tractor. One dark, early winter morning, as I was driving to school, I came up and over a hill to see some sort of amorphous blob swirling in the middle of the road. I slowed to a stop to find a few feet before me 3 or 4 huge black dogs encircling the scraggly, wild hair, hunched over woman. The dogs paid me no attention, but the woman stood straight up, turned around, and stared directly at me through the headlights. I could tell where she was looking because although she wasn't wearing glasses, her wide eyes were gleaming, reflective like a cat's. My heart was racing, and I didn't feel like I should get any closer to her, but I had to go. I slowly started to go around her when she lunged at my car and hit my hood with her hands. I floored it and sped away as fast as the gravel would let me. I'm not the only one who has seen her either. My sisters were driving home one night and they saw the same anomaly I had. My cousins were riding their horses down the road one day when they saw a crazy looking woman walking down the road away from them. She walked into an abandoned house, they said, and when they tried to ride their horses by, the animals wouldn't move and they started to act up. Eventually, they just had to turn around because the horses were too spooked to go any further.
Story number 6.
The summer after graduating high school, my friend and I took a road trip to stay in a couple haunted places. I was super interested in ghosts but didn't have any personal experiences that couldn't easily be explained away logically. Our first stop was a haunted B&B we found in our Haunted Texas book. After exploring every unlocked room in the place, we'd gone out for the evening and came back fairly late. While it seemed the other guests were asleep, we went downstairs to play around and take photos, hoping to catch a ghost with all of our new digital cameras. We were having a good time, giggling and scaring ourselves, when suddenly we heard the doorknob. We all stopped and turned to the door, a little nervous about being caught by someone coming in late. Not that we were doing anything wrong, but we really didn't want to explain we were looking for ghosts. We watched and heard the doorknob jiggle and turn, but no one ever came in. We got a little spooked at that point, thinking that maybe someone was trying to get in who shouldn't. We were grateful at that point that the door was locked. We didn't stay downstairs much longer after that and went up to bed. After a restless night without a single ghost, we got up in the morning to go to SeaWorld. They abuse animals there. When we left the B&B that morning, we went through the front door and all stopped short. The wooden door was protected by a glass door that creaked loudly when we opened it and slammed shut. We hadn't heard the glass door at all the night before when we watched the front doorknob turn back and forth. With a few shared glances, we said nothing and continued on our day to SeaWorld. Don't go there. We were all so freaked out that we never talked about it beyond saying it was weird. That was the only thing that spooked us through the entire trip, except for a few orbs in our photos and our own imaginations. And they just added at the bottom, we thought a person was trying to open the door. It turns out no one could have been turning the knob. You know what's really scary though? What they do to animals at SeaWorld. Don't go to that place.